that was the hardest, is when I didn't know I had panic attacks. It's so fast of a heartbeat. It's terrifying to...
Yeah, I felt his chest once. It was like...
Because you think you're dying.
Yeah.
You got to know you're not dying. You just...
Oh, here comes the mom. Mama bear coming in.
Welcome back to the Maeband podcast. I'm Holly.
I'm Bryan.
And today we have a special guest with us, Tylon.
Tylon.
Our son.
Hi.
He doesn't feel awkward at all.
So today's topic is coping with anxiety.
We just thought we'd bring Tylon on here because...
He has a little bit of personal experience with this.
Yeah, a little bit of personal experience. I think it's good to get somebody's point of view that's had these kind of experiences, because I feel like if the more open you are about things, I think it can help more people, right?
I especially think with teenagers as well, like having a younger teenager on that can talk about anxiety. It's very hard for teenagers. There's a lot of teenagers now, I think, that cope with that. It seems to be more prevalent these days. And also parents with their teenager, like our experience coming is from parents and how we've dealt with it and how we made mistakes and how we could do better. And yeah. So we're really grateful that Tylon is willing to come on here, and I'm sure he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart to help people, because there's a lot of teenagers out there that are going through they're going through the things that he used to go through, and he's like kind of moved past it now, but he still remembers how awful it was, because it was, how many years ago did you have these problems?
I'm senior now.
You're senior?
8th grade is when it started, 8th grade.
So 8th and 9th, so about 4 or 5 years ago, or 3 and 4 years ago.
So do you remember like your first, so you've had panic attacks right? Do you remember your first panic attack?
At a baseball game. That was my first one. At a baseball game, I was just in the dugout and just had a panic attack randomly. I didn't really know it was a panic attack. I had no idea. My heart just started beating way too fast, and I knew something was wrong. I think I went to you. I was like, what the heck? And then
what did mom do?
Nothing. She's like, go out there and play. No, you would have done that. I had to play with a broken arm.
Oh, okay. All right. This isn't coping with bad parents.
Yeah. But that was my first experience. But
which is strange, because he's been playing baseball for a long time. So that wasn't like it was his first game, right? He'd been playing for a long time, and then all of a sudden it was just one time. Yeah. Boom.
So after like that experience, and then after having more, do you know what causes anxiety or panic attacks, or
mostly in public situations for me. I think I have social anxiety. So anywhere in social situations, I get panic attacks, but it's not like frequent anymore. It used to be very frequent.
So do you still get panic attacks?
It's been a while, huh?
Every 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been a while since I've.
And when it was at its worst, how often were you getting them?
Every day, 5 days a week, probably.
Because
of school.
Yeah, school. Yeah, and then I can't remember, what was the story? How did we find out that you had them? I think is that what it was? You were out on the park?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was driving down the street, and I happened to look over, and I see this kid like spread eagle on a picnic table. I was like, what is this kid doing? And then I look closer, I'm like, oh, that's my son. And so I pulled up and I'm like, dude, why aren't you in school? And he's like, oh my gosh, feel my chest. And I felt his heart, and it was like pounding through his chest. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? And so he's like, no, I'm having a panic attack. I'm like, what's a panic attack? Neither of us really knew. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know I was having a panic attack. It just happened, and maybe 2 months after it started, I just kept getting them over and over.
Yeah.
I would go home or just sit out there. I went home the first month maybe, and my mom didn't like that, so I started just going on the picnic benches. It was
like all of a sudden you'd go to school, and then you'd like show up at home, like you can't just walk home from school. And then I took him into like the counselor's office, and the counselor was like, Tylon, you can't just leave the school, like, because I'm getting calls, and then I'm getting letters like, your son is missing too many days of school and you're gonna go to jail. You got to go to court now. I'm like, you can't do that. So I took him into the counselor, and the counselor said the same thing, like, Tylon, you can't just leave.
But
she tried to help him.
He's having a panic attack. I doubt the first thing he thinks of is like, well, I better go report this. You know, he's just like, I'm getting the crap out of here because this feels like hell. And so he's like, all right, I'm out. Boop.
I think that's why that time he went and just laid on the picnic bench because he was told he couldn't leave school.
Couldn't come home.
He couldn't come home.
He's like, well, there's a table. I'll go die over there.
Yeah. That was about it. I eventually got taken out of the class that caused panic attacks.
So it was a certain class.
It was a certain class about every single day. I did get them in other classes and stuff like that, but it was just mainly this one class. You took me out of that, right? And then we talked with the class counselor.
I'm dying to know.
What class?
What class was it?
Guess what?
Dance. I don't know.
Math.
Math, though? Yeah, I can see
it
that.
wasn't really the learning that I got panic attacks from, but it was just...
The kids in the class?
It was just everything.
Those stupid bullies, I'm coming for you.
So, yeah, I just eventually left that class and it was all pretty much better. I still got panic attacks like maybe twice a week, or once a week. Probably once a week.
After moving out of that class, you still got them.
Just but very rarely.
Well, and then the counselor was super nice. I remember she set it up. She's like, hey, if you're ever struggling, you ever just can't go, just come here, wave to us. And you can go in this room and just sit and do work. And we won't ask any questions and no one will talk to you.
Yeah. I think people are becoming more aware that this is an actual real problem. You know, back in my day, it was just like, what's wrong with you? Get back in school and go. And so I think people are becoming more aware that it's an actual problem. And so I think people are becoming, I don't know, what's the word? More aware. I don't know.
More sympathetic.
More sympathetic. That's
helpful,
what I was looking for.
And helpful, maybe solving, having solutions to strategies, solutions, systems. They're, helping, we're figuring things out.
So
how to deal with it.
What would you tell if there was another teenager out there that was going through panic attacks or having issues with a school or a class or what would be your advice? What would you tell them?
Probably just talk to someone. Once I talked to my parents and my uncle, they're the only ones who knew at the time. It was really comforting to know what you're dealing with yourself and having other people know what you're dealing with at the time.
Yeah, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
That's big.
I'm just talking to people, even if it's super hard.
Yeah,
you gotta talk to someone.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time you didn't tell us.
Yeah, he didn't.
For
tell
a long
us
time, you just came home and you were Vit, and I'm like, what is going on?
We knew something was wrong with him.
We knew something,
and he just
wrong.
wouldn't talk to us. We're like, what is? Yeah, we knew something was wrong, but he wouldn't tell us. So he finally opened up, and
then we were able to try to come up with solutions and strategies to help him. Then we were able to go talk to the counselor, and we were able to figure things out instead of yelling and grounding and getting mad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? What do you do to cope with them as they're happening?
Deep breaths. Focus on your breathing going down, just because it's so fast of a heartbeat. It's terrifying to.
Yeah, I felt his chest once. It was
because you think you're dying.
Yeah,
you gotta know you're not dying. I envisioned my heart just slowly going down.
That's right. He told me that. You envision your heart slowing down, and
it's really hard to not to try to get it down when there's just so much going on. Especially when I got them frequently. And when you don't know what's going on, that was the hardest. Is when I didn't know I had panic attacks. It was just something.
So what did you think it was when all of a sudden your heart's beating out of your chest? Am I dying?
I thought I was dying.
Having a heart attack at age 9?
Having a heart attack at 14.
Knew I shouldn't have drank that Coke. Yeah. I knew I shouldn't have ate that hot dog or whatever it is.
It was awful, but.
Yeah, it's strange because I had no idea what panic attacks were until he'd talked to me about them. And it was several months ago, all of a sudden I woke up probably 2 or 3 days in a row with a panic attack in the middle of the night. It was 3 a.m. My heart was beating out of my chest. I just had the sense that I was going to die. Everything was just you're going to die right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. But I really thought I was because I'm in my mid 40s. I could literally have a heart attack, and I'm really out of shape. And so I'm like, okay, I might be dying. And then it went away. I was like, oh, that was weird. And then next night, hey, you're dying again. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm dying again. And that happened 3 nights in a row. And I wasn't more stressed out about anything. It was just randomly, it just happened to me 3 nights in a row. And I haven't had them since, but it's just strange. The human mind and the body are just weird. Holly, how do you feel like we handled this as parents?
Well, we didn't know what was going on. Obviously, like, I don't think we handled it very well at first. I think once we trusted him, we didn't really like at first. Also, we didn't know if we should believe him. Like, we didn't really trust him. We thought maybe he was lying or he was just trying to get out of school or trying. And so we were like,
well, I think that's the importance of like talking to us because he wouldn't tell us. He was just like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I'm like, so we know something's wrong. So I think if he'd just come out and been like, hey, I'm having these attacks, we'd be like, okay, well, we can deal with this. But I feel like, no.
Well, when I said I had panic attacks or when you guys figured it out, you still didn't believe me.
Me?
Well, sort of. Dad thought I was trying to get panic attacks, so I missed school.
Well, that's legit.
Come on. So there was that. So what he's saying is completely true, that if he knew about it, he would.
I'm sorry, Tylon. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I screwed up.
Don't lie on the podcast.
Okay, so.
oh, he's calling you out.
He's calling me out. Yeah, I don't think we handled it very well. Honestly,
right.
we didn't. I mean, it was new to us too. So you got to give yourself some slack because it was new to all of us, all three of us. You know, we had no idea. Tylon was going through a stage where he didn't want to be at school and he was, you know, and so we're like, okay, is it just that he doesn't want to go to school? We didn't know what was going on. So I'm glad he finally talked to us. So Tylon, we didn't handle it very. What did you do, Holly? I mean, how did you handle it? I don't really remember us talking about it together.
I remember just being upset that he was just coming home from school over and over again. Yeah. And I didn't realize the situation of what was going on. And then I was like, well, it's a certain class. And it took so long for him to finally start to open up. And it was like over the course of months that I kept trying to ask him questions. I'm like, Tylon. And then finally, you know, he started opening up a little bit more. And I was like, well, you still got to go to school. So let's go talk to the counselor. And then that's where I remember talking to the counselor. I don't know. Why didn't you open up at first, Tylon?
I don't know. Just when you're a young teenager, you don't really care to talk to your parents. I mean, that's how all young teenagers are. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure the reason why, though, like, if I actually thought I was dying. I didn't think I was dying. But I was like,
he's like, I might be dying, but I'll be damned if I'm going to tell my parents.
Yeah. Well, and you were like getting in trouble for coming home. That's why I don't understand why it took so long for you to tell us. I was just embarrassed that I thought it might have been just
something wrong with you.
I thought it was just really unhealthy and I needed to lose weight. So then I like had body issues for a time and I was.
You really thought that?
I thought it was because I was overweight. I thought my heart was beating constantly. So.
We're glad that you finally talked to us.
Yeah, it helped.
We can help you. As a parent out there that has a kid that's going through something like this, what would you say to them?
What would I say to them?
Yeah, like to the parents.
I don't know. Believe your kid. Trust them. All, they're probably smarter than you think, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just trust them. I mean, that's what really helped with you guys is when you, like Mom, you would get frustrated with me often, but that's like acceptable. The thing that helped the most is when you just trusted that I was having panic attacks and it really helped.
And took you, I think for me, responding more with love than frustration. I think I probably and I think there was a lot of like fear and unknown and like confusion and what was happening. And so an immediate reaction for, I think, human beings is to respond to confusion and unknown things with like fear and anger. And maybe if I could have like responded more with love and understanding and realized there was a deeper thing going on. I think that's a lot of times as parents, we need to remember sometimes there's deeper things going on underneath the misbehavior because he was misbehaving, but there was clearly something deeper to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, which I think we do even as adults, right? We misbehave and then there's a deeper issue.
Yeah.
Holly tells me I'm misbehaving all the time. So.
Don't say that.
Apparently they have deep issues.
You do have very deep issues.
I do have deep issues. I'm not going to deny that. I'm glad Tylon talked to us and everything is better now. I mean, I guess it's not fully better, right? You still have them, but at least you know that you can talk to us. And
it's way better. I mean, it's miles better when I talk to someone.
Yeah.
So do you have any like goals or things now to help yourself deal with it? Or how has it just gotten better? Like, how are you coping with it now?
It felt like it just got better when I left school. I'm now homeschooled. And you put me into the part-time school. Mm-hmm. And that was awesome for me. I felt like, so I was doing stressful classes and I did all of those at home. And
so all the stressful, better. So all the core classes you were doing at home, and then you were able to go to school for some of the
I
easy,
did band,
like music.
yeah, okay. And that was just fun to do. That helped a lot. And then when I went full homeschool, that was like awesome for me too. I mean, it's different for everyone, but that's what helped for me.
And we did talk about this before at another time. There are situations that are going to be stressful, and you can't always avoid them.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thankful that you were put in certain situations? Have you gotten better at dealing with stressful situations? Is that is that how you feel like you've worked through this?
Yeah. Stressful, like just doing stressful situations
More often.
That helps. But it was really hard because I was so young when I started getting panic attacks. I think that was a big reason for why I was struggling the most at that time is because you're stupid when you're young and you get stressed very easily, especially a young teenager. And as I got older, I was just more laid back, not fully laid back, but definitely more than I was.
Yeah.
I think you don't like understand when you're young, you know, you don't quite have a fuller picture of understanding.
Yeah, definitely.
Some other things that you had mentioned before that got you through it was YouTube.
Yeah.
So was that hard at first?
YouTube was like one of the hardest things for me at first, just going online
on camera,
thousands of people, I guess at the time.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. And it went from tens to hundreds to thousands. But doing that was very hard for me. I feel like that also helped tremendously at the time because that was like at the peak, like 9th grade is when I started. So I was having a lot of anxiety and YouTube just helped me open up a lot.
Yeah, that's what I feel. I feel like being on YouTube gave you a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm. So how do you know when it's time to like push through something to work through it, or like you shouldn't, like, you know, like how do we know if we should have kept you in school and made you like push through it and done all the classes, or if it was time?
I don't know.
No, who does, man?
I feel like it was better for me to go out of school. But
maybe it just depends on each situation.
I mean, like, how do you know now? Like, what are some things recently that you've maybe done in the last couple of years that you pushed yourself through and you knew you needed to, or other things that you were like, no, like it's not the right time. I can't push myself through this.
Going to the gym was hard for me, really hard at first, just because it's new.
Yeah.
Anything new is very hard. So but you got to learn once you do the new thing, it stops becoming new. Yeah. And then it's just way easier.
Yep. And now you do really good at it and you go and you're just totally fine.
So it's just the first time, which is interesting. So once you start going to the gym and like getting past it, then it gets better, right? But when you were going to school, it never got better. You were still going every day and it was like still panic attack.
I guess maybe that's the situation when you know that you need to change something is when you
that's a good point.
Major anxiety.
Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe that's the point, you know, you're like, okay, I'm going to keep having panic attacks and I've been doing this thing for a month and I'm still having issues. Maybe it's time to back off. Yeah. That's smart. Yeah.
But it would be hard to go the first couple of times consistently. Yeah. If you know it's new and you keep getting panic attacks, that would be hard to keep going and push until you know for sure. But that seems like a good way to.
Yeah, that's true.
But you would recommend it.
I would recommend that. Just pushing through. The first time is always the hardest.
Yep.
And the second time's almost as hard. And the third time's almost as hard as the second time. Yep. And it just gets easier and easier.
And if it's getting easier, you know it's something you can get through. Mm-hmm. And if it's not getting easier, well, then you might have to reassess.
My school was getting harder. And so that's not a good sign. Speaking of that, when do you think for you guys would be a good time to push your own child? Or to lay off and
come back up.
Let them make their own decision, which could be hard for a parent.
That's a good question. I'll give that one to Holly because she's smarter than me.
Thanks for that.
You're smarter than me.
I don't know how you ever completely know. I think it's really maybe just knowing your child and paying attention to your child and listening to your child.
Yeah.
Like listening to him was very helpful and it was hard because I remember trying to get him to open up and I couldn't listen because he wouldn't talk to me. And so it took a lot of persistence on my end to like, go in and like talk to him like every day and like push further and further. And he would open up like a little bit more each time about how he was feeling or about his situation or about what was going on in that class. It would just be like a little bit more. And I think that was when I, finally started to, and, obviously prayer. And, that's a big thing in our family and with our faith is we pray and listening to your own intuition or listening to God or listening to your heart on what's best and not always worried. I know.
So we just wasted 5 minutes.
It just came to me. Fear. Like if you as a parent are feeling fear in your child's situation and you're trying to push them because of your own fear, like that is not the right path.
So if you're pushing them
because of your
own fear.
Yes. Because of your own fear.
Not to listen to, what if he's scared? What if they're fearing something? Do you discount that? Like, you know what I mean? Is if he's afraid to do something, do you like, oh, you still got to do this?
Well, I don't think force, but like try and talk to him with love and help them make the decision. That's what I think needs to happen is I think that they need to make the decision. You cannot force them to do something and get rid of their anxiety or panic attack through forcing them to do it. Like all you can do is help guide them and coax them and talk to them and help them make their own decision to try and get through their fear and their anxiety and their panic.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
I'll accept it.
So Tylon, has faith helped you at all? Like working through your anxiety?
At the time when it was the worst, I didn't pray really at all. But lately, past 3 years maybe, I've prayed about anxiety and especially going into a situation. It just feels right to pray, to talk to someone at that moment.
Yeah.
It's kind of like talking to someone in heaven.
In heaven.
But yeah, it's talking to someone openly, just completely open.
Yeah, it's true.
But at the time when it was worse, I didn't have much faith.
So that's interesting that when it was at its worst, you didn't have much faith and you weren't talking to God. And now when it's not as bad, you're saying you have more faith and you talk to God more.
Dun, dun, dun. Correlation equals causation.
Mm-hmm.
So do you wish that you had talked to God earlier and prayed earlier?
Yeah,
in the beginning?
I think so. I think that would have helped a lot. I don't know. I've talked to just, like I said, just talking to someone helps so much. And just, even if it's not for my anxiety, just something else, it's nice to just freely, openly talk. Like I said, just about anything you want without judgment from your parents.
That's why we bought him a kid. That's why we bought him a cat, so he can talk to his cat.
Yeah, his emotional support.
Or emotional support cat.
Yeah.
So you're saying that God didn't judge you?
I don't think so.
That's great.
He told me he did. You're in trouble. He's like, wait till time gets up here, down here.
So I think that's good. Like if you're afraid, to talk to even your parents, maybe like you're not ready, like talking to God first.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever going to fully open up completely to anyone.
I get that.
But God, I feel like
he already knows.
Yes.
Yeah, he already knows.
It's just someone that knows everything you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So
can't hide it. So, but yeah, I agree with Tylon. It's hard to open up fully to anybody about every single thing. Holly's looking at me. She's like, "What did you do? Did you see that?" She was like, did you really do something and not tell me about it?
No, I was just trying to see it because I can't. Time's right in between us.
I saw that. Tylon, did you ever feel like you were overwhelmed or that you couldn't deal with the problem? Did you ever feel like, I can't do this anymore? It's too much.
Yeah, definitely a lot. Just
a lot.
Yeah, just like you can't do you feel like a failure a lot if you can't do something so simple as to go to school. All these other kids are just going to school with ease, probably not with ease behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
You are having constant problems and it's hard and you're just constantly overwhelmed. And yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. That's
hard.
That would be hard to feel like that.
And what did you do?
What did I do when I felt like?
How have you
I was
overcome feeling like a failure? Because you're not a failure.
Yeah, I hope.
You're not.
Yeah. Other people online.
Oh, here comes the Mama Bear coming in. So
yeah, I've heard other people online talk about anxiety and other people that deal with it. That, there's always groups online that talk about all these sort of mental illnesses like anxiety, social anxiety, panic attacks,
So is that
depression,
helpful?
even.
Like not help, like so you
Knowing
don't feel
you're not
so
alone.
alone.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like I've seen a bunch of people just in comment sections of all this stuff talk about their own anxiety, and it helped a lot to see someone else that dealt with something you do that you couldn't even look up to.
yeah. Thanks, Tylon, for being here.
Yeah.
I know he agreed to do this only to help people. Not. I know he was.
Yeah, we asked him for a long time. Like, will you come on? No. And then we were like, you know how many people this would help? Okay.
He's such a big soft heart. Such a nice kid. So we didn't force him to come on, but we wanted to give him a voice for somebody who, I think it's important for, like he was saying, it's important for people to have a voice. So
and
he
know
has
that
a
they're
voice.
not alone.
Knowing you're
Like
not
he
alone.
just said on the, on the groups and stuff, like knowing you weren't alone was very helpful for you. And
Yeah.
so
Yep. Yeah. So if you guys have any comments, issues, or whatever, just comment down below or just reach out to us on email and we will give you our best answer, whatever we can come up with. We'll ask Tylon.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching Maeband.
And thank you, Tylon. See ya.